Board game! My dad is not a natural board game fanatic the way I am. Not totally uncommon for people over 50, I think. When I was a kid, we played, you know, Monopoly and chess and checkers and maybe a little Chinese checkers, I think. But nothing, obviously none of these European games that I love so much right now. So whenever I see him, I try to introduce him to something new that, you know, maybe still falls within and something that he understands a little bit. I showed him Rum Run when I first came out with that, and I think he is able to appreciate that on a certain level because he understands how Mancala and dominoes work. So this time I was thinking really hard, like, what could I show him? And I settled on Acquire. I don't know if I've talked about Acquire on the show before. It's a game that my wife and I discovered going to an event in New York City that was from another friend of mine in Syracuse. He just decided to have a board game night, and he had a bunch of new games, and we're like, what's this one? And we opened it, and we had a great time. Acquire. Very quickly, it's a game that I like to say feels a little bit like a cross between Monopoly and Scrabble, but it's better than both those games. What you have is you have a big grid. The grid is like, I guess you could also say like a battleship grid. So it's a cross between Battleship, Monopoly, and Scrabble. No. Big battleship grid. Everyone has 7 tiles that are hidden by like a little Scrabble rack. You put down tiles. Each turn, put down a tile. Whenever 2 tiles touch, a hotel chain is formed. You get to choose which hotel chain it's going to be. There's like a cheap hotel chain, a medium hotel chain, and an expensive hotel chain. And then what's interesting is you can start to grow hotel chains by adding tiles to things that are already touching. And if 2 hotel chains touch, there's a merger. And whichever hotel chain is the bigger one, it acquires the smaller one. And now what's fascinating about this is it sounds like you have a lot of agency in, you know, like, oh, I'm growing this hotel chain, this hotel chain. I mean, you're limited, of course, by the tiles you have. But what's interesting is you could be working on physically, you know, doing things to hotel chains that you don't actually care about, because the way you win the game, of course, is to have the most money. The way you get money is you buy stocks in these different hotel chains, and there could be, you could be buying stocks entirely in hotel chains that you have not affected at all. You could be doing stuff over in this B14 section of the board, and the hotel chains you're really interested in are over at 11A. Maybe you think that those are the ones that are going to be the most valuable later on in the game because there's 3 hotel chains really close to each other and you know there's going to be a merger. So you're buying stock in those. So what's interesting is you only get to sell your stock when there's a merger. You only get money besides selling your stock if you are the majority or minority shareholder of a hotel. Now this sounds really boring, but it's actually really interesting. You have to trust me on this. So it's fascinating because you're basically always in a race with the other players trying to be a majority or minority shareholder for these different hotel chains. And by the end of the game, of course, you're just paying out what all your stocks are worth. And if you've invested in a hotel chain that got merged and you wanted to keep some stocks, but then that hotel chain never came back, those stocks are worthless. So there's a really interesting strategy that comes from balance. You need to know, like, okay, you can put all your money in this one hotel chain, but then if it gets acquired when you didn't think it was going to be acquired and all your stocks become much less valuable, that kind of sucks. Anyway, kind of tough to explain without actually having the board game here. This is the game, by the way, that when we were at a church tag sale a few weeks ago, Liz saw in the book section a like super old original like 1950s version of the game. So this was the first time we actually played with that. Now the interesting thing, of course, is that this game, it's a classic game, and amazingly this version of it was like almost unused. Like a bunch of the stocks and money and all that were still in like their original wrapping. You know how sometimes, maybe not, but sometimes old games come in such a way where it's like sticky notes, where everything is stuck together with a little adhesive there, and then you have all your, you know, paper, and it's like practically a new game. So we're like, oh god, we shouldn't actually play with that. But I mean, it's so nice to have such an old game still be so pristine, and the fact that we got it for basically nothing at this tag sale. So we did an interesting kind of mix and match thing where we used the board and the tiles from the old one, but then still used like the stocks and the hotel markers and everything from the newer one, which is a lot cheaper. I think you can get it for like 15 bucks because it's pretty much all cardboard. Anyway, Acquire is a fantastic game, and my dad liked it a lot. He beat me. It was Liz won the game, my dad came in second, I came in third. It's so much fun. Even though I lost, I still had a great time. So if you haven't heard of Acquire, check it out. Stop teaching your kids Monopoly, teach them Acquire. 5 stars. Confidence of 5.